Emeka, everyone is watching us. You are frightening me.
I need you to hear something before this night goes any further.
What are you saying? What is wrong with you?
The doctors gave me 1 year, maybe less. I should have told you before today. I am sorry.
You are joking. Tell me you are joking.
I am not joking. I wanted one real day. One day where you looked at me like that. I will understand if you want to leave.
Leave? You think I would leave you?
Adaiz,
You do not have to stay.
I just married you in front of God and every person I love. I am not going anywhere. Not in 1 year. Not ever.
The morning Adaize Nusu turned 28, she woke before her alarm, lay flat on her back in the pale grey light of her single room in Newi, and made herself a promise. She would stop waiting. She had been waiting her whole life, waiting for her father to come back from the trip he never returned from, waiting for her mother's cough to get better, waiting for the secondary school scholarship that arrived 2 years late and changed nothing, waiting for the man she had loved at 23 to choose her over the woman his family had already chosen for him. She had waited through all of it with the quiet dignity of someone who had been taught that patience was the same thing as strength. That morning, she decided they were not the same thing at all. She got up, plaited her own hair, fried 1 egg, drank her tea standing at the window watching the Okada men argue over a pothole on the street below, and went to work at the fabric shop on Igwe Road, where she had spent the last 4 years learning everything there was to know about asoke and organza, and the particular way a woman's face changed when she touched something beautiful. She was not unhappy. That was the thing people never understood about Adaize. She was not waiting because she was miserable. She was waiting because she still believed, even after everything. She still believed that something real was coming.
She met Emeka Obiora on a Tuesday. He came into the fabric shop looking completely lost. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of face that looked like it had seen things, but chosen not to be hardened by them. He said he was looking for something called wine-colored asolki for his mother's 65th birthday celebration. He said the color on the paper was supposed to tell him exactly what shade, but he could not read his aunt's handwriting. Adeze looked at the paper. She looked at him. She pulled 3 different bolts of fabric from the shelf without saying a word, laid them side by side in the light from the window, and pointed to the middle one. "That one," she said, "that is what your aunt means." He looked at the fabric. He looked at her. He said, "How did you know?" She said, "Because that is the color of a woman who wants to be taken seriously, but does not want to frighten anyone." He laughed. It was a real laugh, the kind that started in the chest. He came back the following Tuesday for something he did not need. She knew he did not need it because she had already helped him with everything his family could possibly require for one celebration. She sold it to him anyway. He came back the Tuesday after that. By the 4th Tuesday, she had stopped pretending she was surprised. They courted for 14 months. He was a civil engineer from Onitsha, the first son of Chief Obiora, a man whose name carried weight in 3 local government areas, and whose approval, she would learn quickly, was not given freely to anyone. Emeka was careful and deliberate, and funny in the dry, quiet way of a man who has learned that not every room deserves his full warmth. He called when he said he would call. He showed up when he said he would show up. He remembered things, the name of her mother's doctor, the day her fabric order was supposed to arrive, the particular way she liked her suya, heavy on the yaji, light on the oil. He was the first man who had ever made her feel like the details of her life were worth memorizing. His father, Chief Obiora, met her once in those 14 months. Once was enough.
He looked at her the way a man looks at a bridge he is not sure will hold his weight. He asked about her family. He asked about her father. When she said her father had left when she was 9 and she had not heard from him since, something shifted behind the chief's eyes. Not cruelty. Something more dangerous than cruelty. Calculation. He said nothing unkind. He never had to. Ngozi, Edaize's closest friend since their secondary school days, a loud, laughing woman with strong opinions and even stronger instincts, told her after that first meeting, "That man is a problem. I am telling you now so that later you cannot say I did not warn you." Edaize said, "Every family has a difficult father. I am not marrying the father." Ngozi said, "You are always marrying the family. That is what nobody tells you until it is too late." She was right. She was almost always right. Edaize loved her anyway. Mecca proposed on a Saturday evening at the fabric shop after closing time. He had no elaborate plan, no rose petals, no photographer hiding behind a boat of Ankara. He simply waited until the last customer left, walked to where she was folding cloth at the counter, and placed a small velvet box beside her hands. He said, "I have thought about this more than I have thought about anything in my life. I want to spend whatever time I have with you." She said, "Whatever time you have, you are 29 years old." He said, "I know. Open the box." She opened it. The ring was simple, gold with a single stone, the kind of ring chosen by a man who knows the woman he is buying it for. She said yes. She did not cry. She pressed the ring to her chest with both hands and breathed and said yes. The wedding was held 8 months later in Onitsha. 400 guests. Chief Obiora had seen to that. Whatever his reservations about Adaize, he was not a man who did anything small. The hall was ivory and gold. There was a live band and a praise singer and a photographer from Lagos and a cake that arrived in a refrigerated van. Adaize was beautiful. Everyone said so. Ngozi said it 7 times and cried twice. Even Emeka's younger sister, Ifeoma, a quiet, sharp-eyed young woman of 24, who had watched Adaize carefully from a distance for months, pulled her aside before the reception and said, "I want you to know I am glad it is you. I am glad he found you." Adaize had held her hands and thanked her and thought, "This family has more layers than I know yet, but I will learn them." She did not know, sitting at that head table in her ivory lace, how much she was about to learn. When Emeka took her hand under the table and told her what he had to tell her, the world did not stop. That was the strange thing. The band kept playing. The praise singer kept calling names. The guests kept laughing. A child ran past their table chasing a balloon. The world continued completely unaware that everything inside Adaize had just been rearranged. Grade 3 glioblastoma. That was what he told her. A brain tumor. Aggressive. Discovered 3 months before the wedding, during a routine check after he had complained of headaches that would not leave. He had seen 2 doctors and then a third. The third had been the most honest. 1 year, she said. Possibly less. Possibly a little more if he responded well to treatment. He had not told her. He had made the decision, alone, in the darkness of his own fear, that he would not tell her. He had almost called off the engagement. He had sat with the phone in his hand for an hour one night, meaning to call her and end it cleanly, give her the chance to build her life with someone who would still be standing in it 10 years from now. But he had not been able to do it. He had told himself it was because he did not want to hurt her. And that was true. But it was also true, and this was the pack that cost him, that he had been afraid. Afraid that if he told her, she would leave. And he had discovered somewhere in those 14 months of Tuesday visits and remembered details and dry, quiet laughter that the idea of losing Adaeze Nwosu was more frightening to him than the idea of dying. So he had said nothing, and he had married her, and then he had told her, on their wedding night at the head table, while the band played and the guests celebrated and the cake waited in its refrigerated splendor. She had not left. She had looked at him with those clear, steady eyes and said, I am not going anywhere, not in 1 year, not ever. And she had meant it. The first year was the hardest thing Adaeze had ever done in her life. Harder than her father leaving, harder than her mother's illness, harder than every waiting room she had ever sat in. Because this was not waiting for something to arrive, it was waiting for something to leave. And she had to do it while pretending every single day that she was not waiting at all. Emeka started treatment 3 weeks after the wedding. Chemotherapy first, then radiation, then a combination that made him thin and grey and exhausted in ways that frightened her more than anything the doctors said. He lost weight, he lost his hair, he lost, for a time, the easy laugh that started in his chest. She sat beside him through every treatment. She drove him to Onitsha General and then to a specialist in Awka. And then when Chief Obiora finally accepted what was happening and opened his considerable resources to a clinic in Lagos where the equipment was better and the doctors had names that people flew from other countries to see.